caught me off guard there. Just reading Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed, where he talks about the two theories of learning or teaching, the banking theory and the problem posing theory. It's really interesting. You should really look into this. And whoa, what's going on out here?
Right.
We're just reading for book club. I think.
Yeah.
What did you say, Paulo Freire? Exactly. I think that's the Pedagogy of the Oppressed. We're reading the exact same thing, dude.
It's really fascinating.
Are you learning about the banking concept?
Yeah.
Where it talks about how the banking concept of education is how, a student kind of just gets information pounded into his head, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like receiving, feeling, and storing.
And like on the
Freire
contrary,
said.
like I feel like there's in that same sort of segment, Paulo Freire says, and I quote, in problem-posing education, people develop their power to perceive critically the way they exist in the world with which and in which they find themselves. They come to see the world not as a static reality, but as a reality in process, in transformation. I feel like those end quote, like those words are very, very profound. And I mean, like, dang, like it's just like I wish we knew any other sort of like authors or anything who could sort of, I don't know, carry across that point,
Beautifully put.
Yeah, yo, and I was reading this from about Socrates, and like it kind of connects to what you guys were talking about. It says here that, so it is right to try to boldly inquire and recollect what you do not happen to know at present. It's kind of opposite of that banking theory you're talking about.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Wow. Connections are whack.
So, sister,
Hello.
now that I've explained to you the difference between the problem posing method and the banking method, I'm gonna ask your opinion on this. Knowing that you're a college graduate, you've been through this experience already. Which type of teacher did you feel was more successful, and which type of teacher did you learn better from? A teacher who lectures a lot and uses the banking method, or a teacher who involves the students, asks good questions, and uses the problem posing method?
Okay, so personally, like being from the nursing program here at BSU, the thing I'd like to kind of carry across is that like the types of professors that really came across to me and really just sort of, just made an impact in my education in terms of understanding were those who really tried to ask me those hard, tough questions and really, really made me think. I mean, it's absolutely crazy how much I've learned from wise educators like those,
That's a good point. So you'd say you learned better from the problem posing method while you were in
The
going to
problem
college.
posing method is definitely something as I see as a good way forward for education. It's absolutely something that benefits many students, and I believe that the banking method as opposed to the problem posing just sort of constricts students to a certain standard. It just doesn't work out.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, any time of the day.
Hello, Gabe. How are you doing today?
Oh,
I have a few questions to ask you. So it is about education. I know it is something that's sort of hazy in your mind, but I'm just very interested in answer. So how does a professor or teacher who simply lectures a class affect a student's education in that field?
Well, you know what I'm saying? So if a teacher is talking to you, you don't even know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So instead you're saying things are above your head, you're not going to understand it while they're telling you more information about it. They're just talking to you, and you're just kind of sitting there going, cool. Don't know what to do with this. Don't know what it means. You know what I'm saying? They're just doing it.
It's very interesting. That is a very fresh perspective, and it sort of ponders another question, and that is, how does a professor's ability to ask poised and poignant questions lead to greater understanding of like the information that is actually presented in the class?
So when they allow you to interact with the information, you know what I'm saying? So they give you that information, lets you take your own perspective, lets you do what you want with that information. It makes it easier, almost dumbs it down for those of us who don't quite get it.
I understand.
Know what I'm
So it kind of eases the information down and kind of makes it easier to kind of work with it with many more people. I think that's a very interesting perspective. Gabe, that is very interesting, and I will have to make notes about this.
So now that I've talked about both of these methods of teaching, which do you think would better benefit a college student? Depending on what sort of subjects it can be easier to do either banking or problem posing. I think as a society, we overvalue the college degree, but there's something to be said for someone who has the motivation, time management, and self-discipline to go through 4 more years of university and come out on the other side, hopefully with some new skills. I think that's representative of the character traits of someone you would want on your workforce. Thanks. That's an interesting take.
Awesome. And then, from a student's perspective, how do you think a teacher helps them learn?
A teacher is key. It's a very important role. I mean, I see today that you guys are taking a lot of online classes, and I don't necessarily agree with that because you don't have that one-on-one interaction with a teacher that's necessary to learn. When you're online, it's just kind of like you're filling information in your head, and you're not really learning how to think for yourself because you're not having that interaction with the teacher. So I think if someone, a student goes to a class and takes notes and pays attention, he's going to learn a lot more than he would just reading a book or reading an article online all by himself.
Well, that's really interesting you said, because like Sanders, one of the guys that we've read about, he says it's up to the student to take initiative to want to learn, to get there to learn. Seems like that's kind of something that you fall in line with. That it's up to the student with the going there, taking notes, listening, and wanting to learn to get the most out of their education as they possibly can.
Thank you for giving me this time, Kevin. Now, let me ask you this. How else should a professor teach, besides just lecturing, that could lead to a student's greater understanding? Well, Sonny boy, sometimes you just gotta confirm what everybody just heard, using their own words. You see here, my pappy back in Kansas, he used to say, everybody sells something, you gotta sell them what you're teaching, because everybody's a salesman. So, this relates to Meno, as Socrates explains that it is right to try to boldly inquire into what we do not know, which will lead to greater understanding.
Fun.
Wow, weren't those interviews really interesting?
Yes, they were. Turns out that the banking concept is appropriate at times, but the problem-posing method contributes to a more well-rounded individual.
Yeah, man, Paulo Freire was really ahead of his time, wasn't he?